Blessed sons and daughters of God, I, Morya, am most grateful to Alpha and Omega to be your champion, your leader of the first ray of the will of God. For there is no place that any flame burning upon the altar of the heart would ever desire to be save the will of God. So when you come to seek entree into my retreat, it is because there is love for God that you desire to saturate through your vehicles of consciousness, and at the full measure of that will of God, impart to you what is the divine direction for your life stream, so that you can begin to fill in the attainment and the mastery required to be the victor. Through many of my incarnations, there are those of you that have ridden side by side as we have entered into battle to quiet the unreality, the negativity, the warring against the innocent and the holy. Again we enter into battle together, but this time, blessed hearts, it is not with spear and sword, but with the truth of cosmic law, which in its own right is a sword, as you have already received in times past by the hand of my beloved, the goddess of light. That sword of truth that proclaims the divine destiny for every son and daughter of God, the individualization of the mighty I Am presence, and the fulfillment of the divine destiny that is intended for the earth to bring forth a golden age. All this, blessed hearts, has been written for you, etched in blazing golden letters upon illumination's flame that burns upon the altar of your heart, so that you might never forget your high and holy calling, so that you will always hold dear to your heart what is the divine plan, not only for your own life stream, but for the collective whole of the entire spirit of the Brotherhood of Light. With the coming of Sanat Kumara, there was the initiation of the Brotherhood of Light, so that there could be a body of cosmic and ascended beings that would come together and meet in cosmic councils and adjudicate, call for dispensations, and bring to bear their wisdom and their momentum for the earth, to throw over the traces of the Dark Ages, to allow for the light to shine forth, and to lead the sons and daughters of God, lifetime after lifetime, into the crucible of the heart, where there was then imparted all that the presence desired to have assimilated into these outer vehicles. Many of you strive daily to meet the timetable and cycles of your responsibilities, fulfilling the necessities of life, keeping body and soul together so that the flame of God has a body temple in which to blaze forth the light of God. Likewise, there are those of you that take most seriously your spiritual path, recognizing that without that spiritual path, everything else is for naught and only becomes a vain repetition of the wheel of karma. And you have determined to step off of that wheel by transmuting that karma, with the sacred fire, by calling forth into your vehicles of consciousness sufficient light so that you are no longer jostled about by the human thought and feeling in the mass consciousness, so that you have firm resolve as to what matters in your life for you. What are the high priorities? If you were king of the world for a day, how would you instill for all of the subjects under your charge a way of life? What would be the first priority that you would decree and set in motion? Surely it goes without saying, it would be the presence of God is the highest state of being. The presence of God is your all and all. The mighty I Am presence is the source and the creator of your life. And you are that mighty I Am presence in action. Think of it. If every life stream upon the planet for one day adopted that first priority to fall into lockstep with the will of God, can you not begin to see that even should there be those that would slide back into the old habits and the old actions on the morrow, there would be a sufficient momentum released upon the earth to change the entirety of civilizations as they exist today? Well, blessed hearts, let me be the first to tell you, if you have not already heard, such is the vestment of the authority that you hold in the mighty I Am presence. Your mighty I Am presence has already proclaimed the divinity of the flame upon the altar of your heart. The mighty I Am presence has determined the golden age will take place in your life. The question remains, when will you fall into lockstep with that golden age? When will you adopt the disciplines, the charge of light and vibration that allows for the closer walk with the mighty I Am presence? When will you be filled with the charge of God consciousness that is unmistakable? And at every turn, you know what is expected of your life stream. And it likewise responds. It is indeed possible. And when more and more life streams upon the earth begin to commune with their mighty I Am presence in that divine state that allows for the will of God to take hold over these outer vehicles, to allow the flow of God direction, illumination, God love, God purity, the truth of cosmic law, the emerald ray of the Christic fire, the ruby fire of divine love of God. All this, blessed hearts, because the first priority was the mighty I Am presence. That, blessed ones, is already changing the world. You may not see it at first glance. There may still be those pockets and cesspools of negativity that are funneling in astral substance. But it does not mean that that will last forever. For there are already legions of angels servicing the sons and daughters of God upon the earth, sealing away that astral substance, and that which remains is still being regurgitated by the emotions, the mental and the physical bodies of those that are incarnate at present. Future generations will not have to suffer the slings and arrows of negativity, of the battling for the Christ light to emerge, as is present even in this day, because of the work that you, as the torchbearers of the temple, are accomplishing daily. This Blessed Hearts is the testimony of one Chohang, of the ray of God's pure quality that sees and knows the victory that will come to pass because of the efforts that you make here and now. Yes, even this lifetime has been a trial and an initiation. Many of you have passed through the eye of the needle, not once, not twice, but many times. For the progression in the acceleration of your attainment requires that there be increments of learning, of cycles, of the unfoldment of the charge of your light, of your mighty I Am presence. It cannot happen all overnight, albeit there is no limitation to what the presence may desire. And so you should proceed forward as though it is expected here and now. And the presence desires you to have your chalice prepared, to have the transfer of that light here and now. But should there be levels and cycles unfold in the gaining of your mastery and attainment, you would understand that the presence has taken mercy upon you, for the pain might be too great to go through that ultimate, final initiation. So there are baby steps that are taken, though they do not seem like those that an infant would take, for they have required every erg of energy of your being to pass through, and you wonder, how long, O Lord, until I have gained sufficient mastery to have a respite? Well, Blessed Hearts, there are always those cycles where the in-breath of rest occurs, but do not become too comfortable, for you can expect another cycle, even if it is a rush of light from your mighty I Am presence. That light may create such a stirring in your vehicles of consciousness that you wonder if you can hold all that light at one setting. So you must adjust to it. Reestablish a foundation in this new atmosphere of light, and begin to orchestrate your life again. Blessed Hearts, do not fear the Lord. Oh, I know it has been said that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. However, blessed ones, you should run to greet the mighty I Am presence. You should invoke that light with all intensity of your might, so that there is no reserve within your outer vehicles that would stop the flow that your presence already knows you can handle, the resistance of your timidity can and will telegraph to the mighty I Am Presence, do not come too close, for I might feel your presence, and it might shift my world too much. So stay just a little distance away. Now, how long do you suppose it will take you to gain your mastery and attainment and win your ascension in the light, if that is your attitude about God? The steep path of Christhood is one that is straight up the mountain. And when you reach the summit of that attainment, you recognize that these physical muscles may be worn out, but it is okay. The flame of God is stronger yet. You may find that you have wrung out every urge within your emotional body, but as quickly as that is seen to be depleted, your mighty I Am Presence has filled your emotional body like the bellows, igniting a fire. And just as quickly as you think, you cannot think of the next step to take, the lightning charge of the mind of God deposits within your mind that divine direction that is required for you to take. And you step forth, sure-footed once again. All of a sudden you have regained physical strength that you know not where it came from. Well, I can tell you, it came from the rod of power of the will of God, charging, renewing the synapses, the muscles, all of your vehicles, so that you are once more in alignment with the full charge of the mighty I Am Presence. You have reached the summit of your attainment. Then what will you do? What is the next step? That is always given unto the mighty I Am Presence. For it could be that your journey is just beginning in this incarnation, and you are ready to begin the fulfillment of your divine plan. It could be that the attaining of that final summit is one step removed from transfiguration and the ascension. While it could be that in the next breath your presence said, "Thus you have achieved the good work that I have required. Come home. Enter into my body and be one." So you see, blessed hearts, there is much to look forward to. Many challenges, many cycles to fulfill. You, blessed hearts, are given a gift that most of mankind to date has not even dreamed is possible. You know the presence of God. You are given entree into that presence. You have within your grasp all that is required for you to seize the day victoriously at every turn. As the light shines forth, you discover a beacon that has pointed you in the direction of where you are to go. That beacon is the mind of God. Your vision is clear, your stature strong. All because you put the mighty I Am presence first. You put the will of God at the forefront of your consciousness. That will of God desires love to flow unconditionally. That will of God desires for wisdom's ray to take hold in the initiate's life and to orchestrate all of one's affairs in illumination. That will of God draws forth the commandment for healing to occur. The will of God requires purity. The white light of the mother flame. That will of God invokes the violet flame and the sacred fire that consumes all that is impure and establishes the purity all about, where the presence of God may walk freely as the Christ, as the light. The will of God desires to serve mankind as the God in all. For that will of God understands that only in allowing for the flow of the light, the substance of God, the talents, the creativity of God that is entrusted into the keeping of that one, that is allowed to touch all of life, is there opportunity that continues to flow to all upon the earth. For that is opportunity and the true meaning of the sacrifice of the presence of God that flows forth and initiates every cycle. Please put the cup down. You blessed hearts are initiated each time your attention flows to this altar by your mighty I Am presence as to what course the will of God desires for you. The question always remains, will you elect to flow into the will of God, or will you rebel against the will of God? Will you come together in the unity of the flame of the allness of God, or will you stay as a separate island, sealed off from your brothers and sisters of light, proclaiming in a selfish mode, I'd rather do it myself? Will the divine ego be at present, or will it be the human ego? Will the will of God burn as a flame in all of the variations of the blue flame of the will of God that initiate constancy, steadfastness, the engram and the firing that conveys that Edenic blueprint of the will of God at every turn, in every moment, moving, refreshing, revitalizing your direction, continually refining all that goes on in your life. It is not one will of God that comes forth. It is a continual flow. For the desire of God's heart is never stagnant. It does not cease to be. There was not one initial decree, and then your presence ceased to flow forth as any ray of God consciousness. So, blessed hearts, I, as King Arthur, learned many mistakes, but learned many valuable lessons that carried me into, ultimately, the ascension. and the ability to stand before you as your champion and say, the will of God is good. Adhere to it. Strive mightily for it. And once you touch it, hold fast to that ray as the presence continues to flow that ray into you. For that, blessed ones, is how you win the victory. First and foremost of your ascension, but all of the victories along the way that you are required to win that ascension. For every day is a process by which you are to internalize the light of God. And on that topic, I must step aside and allow my beloved to speak to you directly, for she is master of the white light of the mother flame. She stands arrayed in all of the dimensions of the mother flame that are required for you to adopt and to draw into that sword of truth that has been entrusted to you. Won't you receive, my goddess, your goddess of light?